We're with Coach Mike McConathy, the Demon basketball coach, in the middle of preseason practice, the season opener next weekend at home on Friday night, November 8th. But today we're talking about the Southland Conference and the Southland Conference polls, which have the Demons coming off last year's NCAA tournament appearance, picked as the preseason favorite. Coach, how do you react to that?
Well, that's an honor, but at the same time, you've got to try to overcome complacency and just young men thinking, well, hey, everybody thinks we're going to win, we're supposed to win. And, you know, it's pretty much a challenge as a staff and an individual coach to try to get young people to understand that you got to fight through this, and that's just what they're talking about. That's not what's actually been done.
Okay. You do have the advantage, though, and I know this is something that you're very proud about, and we're very happy to add these young men to the program, as you did, of having several players in the program who have won championships at different levels. Tell me what that brings to the table for the Demon basketball team.
6 of our 13 scholarship players have played on state championship programs, some of them as many as 2 in their high school careers. Some have been in championship games and then into eventually winning state championship. But I think it's important because they understand the level of dedication that must go into each and every day and the season to try to get yourself in a position to go to the NCAA tournament.
And a good portion of your team was there in Austin last March, went through the NCAA experience, went through 30 minutes of an exciting basketball game and then 10 minutes that were not as fun for the Demons. How much does the totality of that experience drive this year's team?
You know, I would hope that it has a great effect on them because they didn't get the job done. I go back to 2004, 2005, we won the Southland Conference championship and ended up losing at home in the worst basketball game I think I've ever been a part of, Southeastern Northwestern 47-42. And we had a full year to rectify that, go 15-1 the next year and end up winning the conference tournament championship with 3 wins, 18-1 on the year. And my hope would be that we could build off of the frustration of not being able to show what Northwestern Demon basketball is actually about by our last 10 minutes at Florida.
All right. Your team, as I said, has a lot of players who were part of this program, 12 letter winners return. What about comparing this team to last year's team, and what are the capabilities of this year's team?
I think that the experience of last year's team was very, very important. You had the 4 young men that had been in the program. 3 of them had been in the program for 4 years, 1 5. And then Chucky had been here only 2, but in reality he'd been around Northwestern basketball all of his life because he was a Natchitoches native and played for Micah Coleman over at Natchitoches Central High School before going off to play junior college at Jacksonville under Jody Bailey. But I just think that the experience is a factor. I think their length was a real factor. Now athletically, I think that athletically we have some very, very good athletes to step in, but when you're giving up 7 inches and you're giving up 4 inches in the replacement parts that come in, that does make a big difference. And but I think that this group, you've got you have a more seasoned team with Bryson White and naturally Jalen West and Daquan Hicks, who rank very high in the polls of what they're expected to do. Of course, you know, potential's a dangerous thing, we know. But I just think that the Gary Stewart, you know, Patrick Robinson, both those guys did play on state championship teams, and they have been here for 4 years, and hopefully they'll be able to bring to the table that experience to be able to fill the void that's been left by those departed seniors.
All right, you're the Southland favorite, but there's a new look Southland with a deeper group of teams, some new teams that have been added, a different schedule. Preview the conference race for us.
I think it's pretty wide open because there's so many factors. Oral Roberts is always going to be a factor. I think Sam Houston factor. I think McNeese is just, you know, they're a team that nobody's really going to know that's as talented as they are, but Dave Simmons does a fabulous job. Southeastern, someone that people are talking about that's really got some nice pieces coming in. So it's really wide open. I mean, you can put us up there at the front. I always said that when teams get voted first, that's because coaches don't like that team. And they just want to put the onus on them and put the bullseye on their back. We kind of joke about that yeah, I voted for him because we want the pressure on him. But you can scratch that part of it.
Well, let's talk about, is the pressure a good thing or is it a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I think, it makes it, as we just sat down and had a little meeting, which we don't meet much, and we're concerned about the fact that we're not doing a great job of stopping the ball. We're not doing a great job of ball pressure on the shooter and trying to come up with ways that we can try to prove it. And as Jeff Moore said, Coach, I've been here 8 years, and every year at this time, you're upset because we're not stopping the basketball. We're not turning the basketball. We're not contesting shots like we need to. We're not rebounding. So it's the same set of problems every year. It's just that when you've been picked to be number one, I think the pressure on the staff is that you've got to get this done.
All right, last question. You see women's basketball here as a partner, so I know you're emotionally invested in how well the Lady Demons do. Brooke Stoehr is going to tell us how well she thinks her team is going to do. Give us your perspective on their season, their outlook.
Well, I think Brooke and Scott Stoehr are rising stars in the basketball world. I mean, their intelligence level and their ability to get across the message that you're trying to get is really remarkable. I'm just very impressed with them. I mean, I'm a little bit envious because I can see that they're getting their young ladies to do things that I'd like to get my guys to do. But they do a fabulous job. They are just such genuine people and just so dedicated and hardworking. And I just think that they're gonna blow the doors off of it. I really believe that. I think we got a taste of it last year when they came back and did so well after coming off of a 6-win season the year before to go to, I believe, 12 wins last year. And I mean, I know that they wanted even more. I mean, they're just not satisfied. They want to win. Brooke comes from Louisiana Tech, playing for the great Leon Barmore, and they had a high standard of excellence, and that's what she expects from her young ladies.
Thank you, Coach. We're with Lady Demon co-head coach Brooke Stoehr as she prepares her team for the season, which starts next Friday at home. But before we talk about that next week, let's talk about what happened with the release of the Southland Conference polls and your team's progress through preseason to this point. First and foremost, your team overachieved last year. You beat the 2 co-champions in the league. You beat 4 of the top 5 teams in the league. You had the freshman of the year. You were a tough out across the conference. The progress was obvious, but now there's a different sort of progress. You've got your own recruits.
Yeah, it is exciting. I think when you think about just the second part of the process is last year we coached so much energy and so much effort. What you had to do on a daily basis, our expectation level, we spent a lot of time really kind of drilling that into the players' minds and helping that become a routine and habit for them. This year we're able to coach more basketball, and that's been a pleasant thing for us as a staff. We've been able to focus more on what we're putting in schematically, on both sides of the ball, and that's been enjoyable. They've brought a new energy, a new passion, and again, it's people that have bought into your vision and where you see the program. Our returners are very excited about the newcomers because they share that same passion. And they've enjoyed their added energy and effort every day. I think it's been great for us because it's created competition. And I think one big thing of being able to turn around a program is adding competition daily, that people are competing for spots, they're competing for roles and playing time, and that only raises the level of play of each individual.
And in addition to the players that you have coming back from last year's team, you have 2 returning players who were here before, who are certainly going to be contributors for you this year.
Definitely. I think when you have a roster as young and inexperienced as we do, it's a huge benefit to have Meredith and Trudy as a 5th year and 6th year senior, just with all their experiences. Whether they're good or bad, they have experience. And I think that that's going to be tremendous for our team moving forward because they've been in big games, they've been in battles, and they're figuring out how to play for us. And Meredith didn't play in practice a majority of the year, just kind of started getting into it maybe in the latter weeks of the season. Trudy was able to practice, but it's one thing to practice and then be able to turn it on in a game. But we've been so appreciative of their willingness to buy in and work and contribute, and it's going to be very beneficial for our team.
Okay, let's talk about the focus of your team last year, because she earned it, the freshman of the year in the conference last year, Janelle Perez, and how her role has evolved this year.
Well, I think we're going to be able to see Janelle in a different role this year. She's obviously going to be a go-to player for us to facilitate the offense. We know she can score the basketball, but now we have help around her. You know, she may be our second and third scoring option as opposed to last year, and when she and Keisha were our primary scorers. And it's nice when you don't have to have your point guard be your leading scorer right up at the top of the scorers. You can facilitate offense more, and she, I think, for the most part, her growth and development has been from a confidence standpoint of just feeling like I've been here before. I've been in just about every experience. I've been in tough SEC arenas. I've been in tough Big 12 arenas. I've been in close conference games. Have hit big shots in big conference games, and I've been in postseason play, and I think that really has elevated her level of confidence on and off the court, just the way she carries herself. She and Keisha got a ton of experience last year, whether all of it was, you know, pleasant for them or not. That experience is a great teacher.
All right, you as coaches also have the experience of going through the conference. So as I ask you now to consider the Southland Conference, it's a little easier for you. What do you see for the Southland Conference in this season in terms of the basketball race?
Well, I think it's going to be a completely different look for you think of the number of seniors that graduated, and they were all, if you go back and you look at the top scorers in the conference, you know, there were 10 or 11 in the top 15 that were all seniors. And I think that's going to have a tremendous impact not only on those individual teams, but on the conference race. I think that, you know, you've got teams like Stephen F. Austin and teams that have a lot of people coming back, Nicholls State. I think it's just going to be a different look. I think that that's exciting for all of us because not necessarily that it's wide open, but we all feel like we have a good shot of going out and competing and winning on any given night.
All right, your team in these polls was picked 8th. How do you and your team react to that kind of pick in a 14-team league?
Well, you know, I think polls are polls, and, you know, any coach will tell you that. Obviously, you always want to be picked higher than what you're picked unless you're picked first, and then you're, you know, don't want your players to think that they're that good. So I think for us, it doesn't change who we are. It doesn't change our mentality and our approach to every single day, whether we're picked last, as we were last year, or we're picked first, which I hope to be one day. I think that we have to take the same approach in order to win championships and to create a championship culture. If you don't take that same approach, you know, these preseason polls are preseason polls, and we want to be at the top of those lists come March.
So there's a little bit of incentive there, but not too much emphasis placed on it.
We won't place a lot of emphasis on it. You know, we tell our players, and, you know, that gets them fired up, but they know that we can win at home. When we beat 4 of the 5 top teams in the league at home last year, and that's a huge confidence booster for them. The difference is now we have to be able to translate that on the road and be able to get some road wins in order to compete and finish higher than 8th. And I think we will. I think that, you know, you have a young roster and you've got a little bit of experience, but as a whole, you've got 8 new faces, and how are they going to mesh and meld into that and understand that those experiences that the returners have.
All right, in a nutshell, how has practice gone so far?
Practice in year 2 has been much better than year 1, much more enjoyable, and I think it's so much of what I stated earlier of we don't have to coach effort. I think when you can kind of establish that and they understand what your expectations are, now we'll never be satisfied. We feel like they can always give more, but it's much more closer to the level that we expect on a daily basis, and I think that that's been very enjoyable for us as a staff, and I think it's been enjoyable for the players. They see that the level of talent around them has risen, and they're excited about that. They're excited about people that care about the program and want to win and care about winning, and that winning championships is very important to them.
All right, we'll change the course just a little bit because you have a unique perspective. You talked about the perils of being ranked first in the preseason poll. right down the hall are coaches whose team is ranked first in the preseason poll. Nobody at this point of the year knows the team better outside the team itself than do the Lady Demons and their coaching staff. So give me a read on the preseason #1 men's team in the conference, the Northwestern Demons.
Well, I think number one, when you have the point guard coming back that Coach Mike does and Jalen West, you have to feel pretty confident about that. He's a tremendous playmaker, scorer. When he's on the floor, he has such a great command of the basketball. He's a lot of fun to watch and just really. And sometimes it's quiet. You know, he just kind of quietly goes about his business and facilitates offense and scores when he needs to. When you have that integral piece of the puzzle back, that makes a coach really confident. And I think that, you know, the players around him, you know, they still have a good core from that tournament team last year, and they're going to play with a lot of energy. They're going to get up and down. They've obviously got players that can score the basketball. You throw Daquan Hicks in that mix. People like Marvin, they've got people that can score the basketball that have that experience. And then I think they've thrown in some talented newcomers that are really going to give them a different dynamic as well. But I think that, you know, Mike's always going to have his team ready. They're always going to play with a lot of heart and a lot of energy and effort. They're always fun to watch. And I think it can be an exciting year for both the men's and women's basketball teams.
And we know they play pretty good free throw defense too.
They do. They play excellent free throw defense. And with the change in rules this year and the focus being put on allowing more offensive free flow movement, we all might be shooting a lot of free throws. So we've got to shore up our free throw defense.
Well, if they get behind the goal with a few seconds left and the other team's shooting, you got to feel pretty good about it.
They're good to go. I think I could take them back there anytime.
All right, last question. You're the mother of 2 young ones. It's Halloween. What are the costumes?
We have Mickey and Minnie. Minnie and Mickey Mouse. It's a fancy Mickey. Cooper is going to be Mickey Mouse with the fancy black jacket with coattails. He is quite excited about that. We actually got him to keep the ears on during our trial run, so my mom made their costumes and they're pretty fired up about that. Aubrey is a dazzling Minnie, and she's ready to go to the festivals.
Very fun. Parents?
We're coaches. We're going to be dressed as coaches tonight or tomorrow.
It's a good look.
Thank you.
All right.